Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. So, if you're someone who loves seeing exactly how geography, architecture, and sheer human endurance all intersect, well, you are absolutely in the right place today. We're heading over to the western slopes of Mount Stavris in Turkey. We're going to explore a site that literally transformed history without ever leaving the rock face it was carved right into. Now, think about all those monumental cities of the ancient world for a second. Where do you think the followers of Jesus were first called Christians? You might instantly guess Rome, right? Or maybe Jerusalem. But actually, the real answer is tucked away inside a raw, completely natural limestone cave in Antakya. Section 1. The birth of a name. Okay, let's dive into this because to truly understand the architectural and historical magnitude of St. Peter's Cave Church, we first have to establish its massive historical anchor. And that anchor comes straight from the historical record, specifically the biblical book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 26, which pinpoints Antioch, that's modern-day Antakya, as the absolute birthplace of this identity. Historically speaking, right between the years 38 and 43 AD, key early figures like St. Peter, St. Paul, and Barnabas used this very cave to gather the very first congregation. They didn't meet in some grand, sprawling temple. No way. They gathered secretly, hidden right there in the mountainside. It's genuinely amazing, isn't it, to think that a massive global movement started in a literal hole in the wall. From an anthropological and historical perspective, this is a huge milestone. The Greek term Christianos was first coined and applied to this specific community right here in Antakya. I mean, just think about that for a second. Every single time someone uses the word Christian today, it echoes all the way back to this specific rocky geographical incubator where a small, secret movement adopted an identity that would eventually spread across the entire globe. And you know, that historical gravity definitely hasn't been lost to time. Back in 1963, Pope Paul VI officially recognized the sheer historical weight of this cave. He actually declared this earliest center of expansion outside Jerusalem a global pilgrimage site. Because of this, every single year on June 29th, both Catholic and Orthodox churches hold these grand ceremonies here, beautifully bridging that ancient past with modern practice. Section 2. Centuries of Architectural Evolution. Now, what fascinates me most here is that this site is not just some static building. It's a living, breathing historical canvas. So let's trace the physical transformation of this incredible space over the centuries. Just look at the sheer passage of time and empire on display here. We literally go from a secret first-century Roman refuge, which was really just a natural cave carved out of the rock to evade oppression, to these legalized Byzantine expansions in the 5th and 6th centuries, which brought intricate floor mosaics and structural updates. Finally, jumping ahead to the 11th and 12th centuries, the Crusaders of the Principality of Antioch erected the magnificent stone facade that we still see today. The contrast here is just breathtaking. When you stand outside, you're looking at constructed, solid 11th century cut stone. It features these three pointed arches with heavy Gothic and Romanesque influences, designed for absolute durability and simplicity. But the very moment you step through those arches, that heavy stone instantly gives way to the raw, completely untouched natural limestone bedrock of a first-century cave. It is an absolute architectural time capsule. Section 3. The Master Builders and Restorers. Because this place wasn't just drawn up by a single architect in some comfortable studio, it's absolutely vital to acknowledge the hands that have maintained this site over millennia. This site is a massive collaborative effort across completely different eras. We've got anonymous medieval masons from the Crusades building the stone facade. Then, in 1863, French Capuchin monks and Italian craftsmen step in to add the marble altar. And, crucially, we have modern experts from Turkey's Ministry of Culture and Vakıflar. Incredible archaeologists like Nevzat İlhan have been working tirelessly here, from stabilizing the cave's astatic structure a decade ago to the incredibly delicate reconstruction happening right now following the tragic 2023 earthquakes. Section 4. Anatomy of the Sacred Cave. All right, let's move inside and see how this builds our spatial understanding of the cave itself. We are going to take a virtual tour of the interior. So, to help you visualize this, imagine we are stepping into a massive space carved straight into the mountain. It's roughly 13 meters deep, 9.5 meters wide, and 7 meters high. That's a pretty substantial cavern. It's organized into these distinct historical layers that we're going to explore one by one. The very first space you encounter right after stepping through that outer door is the narthex. Now, in ancient religious architecture, this served a very specific, crucial function. Historically, this is where unbaptized individuals would stand. Imagine standing in that exact spot. You're acting as this physical and spiritual buffer between the dangerous outside world and the sacred inner sanctuary. Moving a bit deeper, you entered the nave, the main worship hall. Here, the ceiling and the sidewalls remain completely natural, rough limestone. But nestled right near the back wall is a really striking contrast. It's a formal marble stone altar adorned with religious symbols. Placed here by the French monks in 1863, it's almost this surreal architectural culture clash, right? Placing a perfectly carved, pristine marble altar right inside the dusty, raw bedrock of a mountain. Now, what's really interesting about this is the artistic focal point tucked just behind that altar. Situated inside a naturally carved niche in the cave wall is a small 19th century marble statue of St. Peter himself. If you look closely at the iconography there, he's depicted holding the keys to heaven, which is, of course, a classic symbol of his foundational role in the church's history. And hey, we absolutely can't forget what's beneath our feet here. Preserved right on the floor of the cave are stunning remnants of 4th and 5th century Byzantine mosaics. These ancient floors feature these really intricate geometric and plant motifs. And thanks to the meticulous restorations by modern preservationists, these delicate mosaics are now carefully protected by special glass coverings, which ensures they actually survive for future generations to study. Section 5. Hidden Relics and Escape Routes. Now, as beautiful as the mosaics and altars are, we have to remember the intense, often highly dangerous origins of this community. This brings us to the survival-focused anatomy of the cave. Towards the back left of the cave, there's this narrow, dark opening. This is a secret escape tunnel extending incredibly deep into the heart of Mount Starus. During times of intense oppression, when sudden Roman raids literally threatened the lives of these early communities, this tunnel was their absolute lifeline. It allowed them to quickly flee the cave and just disappear into the surrounding valleys and mountains. The historical urgency carved into that dark passageway is genuinely chilling. Nearby, we find another fascinating feature: the holy water pool. This is formed by water naturally seeping directly from the limestone walls and collecting in a small basin. Anthropologically speaking, this water source was vital. It was historically consumed by the sick seeking healing, and it was used for early baptismal ceremonies. While the natural flow has significantly decreased today, the physical traces and the deep historical memory of that water remain forever etched into the stone. Stepping back outside the cave to wrap up our tour, you'll see the mountainside itself continues to tell the story. Surrounding the church are these ancient and medieval rock tombs, plus clergy rooms carved right into the slopes of the mountain. These served as the final resting places for the sacred figures and caretakers who dedicated and ultimately ended their lives serving this hidden sanctuary. Which leaves us with this final, profound thought. How does a hidden, raw limestone cave, a secret refuge carved out of pure desperation and survival, continue to draw pilgrims, historians, and travelers from across the entire globe millennia later? It's a true testament to the endurance of history and the incredible, tireless efforts of those who have preserved it, from medieval masons all the way to modern Turkish archaeologists. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep exploring, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you.